We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain Mark Angelides, and we continue our conversation with Liberty Nation's editor-at-large, Jim Fite. Now, earlier in the show, we were talking about the draining of the swamp, how that's going. Now, I want to look forward on this, Jim, and see what kind of trajectory we have for it, because this is how people will remember the Trump legacy. There'll be three prongs, I think. One will be immigration, of course. Two will be the economy. Three will be the swamp. And I think the wall will be like a distant fifth or sixth, because we've seen it. The immigration thing is largely under control now. There's been like a 90% reduction in illegal crossings, which just goes to show that it was political will all along that was the problem.
Right. So funny you mentioned that now, though. I come to think of it, I haven't heard anything about the wall in a while.
Yeah, although Caroline Levitt said something. I think it was Caroline Levitt said the other day, the White House press. She said there's 80-something miles have been built, and there's another 70 or something. I think these numbers are right. Another 70 or something that have been reinforced also. So I think it's actually just happening. And, nobody's really known.
So much.
Yeah, there's so much else going on.
Yeah.
That it's become a second-tier issue, as it were. Now, back to...
Man, you would have never thought that would have happened back in 2016.
I know, right? I know. That's it's amazing how the outlook and the vision changed. Let's get back to what's happening with how Trump will be measured in the future for his draining of the swamp.
Right. So, there's a lot of what I call fear mongering in the media right now. It's like, Trump and Musk, Elon Musk is now a target of this as well with DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, kind of running point on some of these layoffs, and they're destroying the nation, right? They're dismantling the federal government, which
I can hear from over here cheers going, oh, they're dismantling the federal government. I know, right? On this side, I can hear, oh no, help me.
Yeah,
but yeah, this one's a bit
ways of wording the same. Yeah, different ways of wording the same thing, but the thing to understand here is the country's not going to fall apart because the federal workforce was reduced. If you read in some of the more progressive outlets, the obvious slant is that we're losing our government. People aren't going to be helped. Services are going to be shut down. It's just chaos in the streets, Mark. And the truth is, Trump so far hasn't even. I mean, he barely ranks as far as the presidents who have cut the most federal workers thus far. Of course, he's only a few months into his second term, so there's still plenty of time here. Harry S. Truman, a Democrat, by the way, is actually number one. He cut almost 600,000 federal jobs as a net change. And what I mean by that is right after the end of World War II, he cut a lot and then built it back up slightly. So the net change was almost was a reduction of civilian federal workforce of almost 600,000. And number two is actually fellow Democrat Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton, yeah.
And this is much more recent and much more relevant. Bill Clinton cut 399,000 federal civilian federal jobs. And the thing is, Trump is of course not there yet, but he's on the course. It won't be hard for Donald Trump to hit Clinton's numbers, I don't think. It would be hard for him to hit Truman's numbers. But if he stays, as I wrote in early April, when I covered this topic the first time, if he keeps cutting the exact same number of jobs every month for the entirety of his four-year term, which I don't think is a reasonable assumption. I think that's
sure.
I think you're going to very quickly get into the realm of diminishing returns. But if he did keep that exact pace, he would just slightly outpace Truman, and we would end up with a federal government the size that it was in 1947. But I don't think it's at all hard for the Trump administration to reduce the overall size of the government over the course of these 4 years and leave us with a government roughly the size that Bill Clinton did when he left in 2001.
Yeah, it's funny how the comparisons don't. I mean, it's not funny. It's tragic how the comparisons don't break through the legacy media noise, because we've had so you have Bill Clinton ended federal jobs for almost 400,000 people. I bet he was sick about missing out that shy by 1,000.
Right.
Trump's done a fraction of that, and yet under Trump the sky is falling, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that wasn't the case under Bill Clinton. And then of course,
it was applauded, of course.
oh yeah, and then you have Michelle Obama going on some podcast or another trying to sell her podcast that I don't think anybody actually watches anymore. About 3 episodes in, it was pretty much over. And she's saying that she stays up at night stressing and worrying about all these deportations that are going on. Where
Clinton was the boss of deportations.
Well, Barack Obama, may I introduce to your wife? I believe it was 2 to 3 million deportations during his term, which, let's be fair, Donald Trump is nowhere near at right now. And I mean, it'll be a tough
early
to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's early days yet. But, you got Michelle Obama lamenting, I think about all these deportations. You're still married to the guy who's got like a big old record on these deportations, but it didn't bother her then. And, the media is covering Michelle Obama's crocodile tears as though it's like, yeah, I know it's really terrible what Trump's doing with this. They know. They don't. Yeah. It's not as though this is something they're not aware of. There was a Foot Locker commercial. Husband did more.
There was a Foot Locker commercial several years back where the kind of the theme of the commercial was all the greats have short-term memories. and
yeah, that about strikes it there. So
yeah,
let's wrap this up on talking about how Trump's going this. So we have federal agencies being moved out of Washington, D.C. We have job cuts for federal civilian workers taking place.
And overall funding cuts.
That's well, actually, let's finish on that topic there. There's overall funding cuts, because we've had obviously Elon Musk has had a heady 100 days as the top dog over at DOGE, or Doggy, as I thought the meme coin was called Dog-E, because it was dog, and a picture of a dog and an E coin.
Right.
Anyway, I digress. So he's had a heady 100 days over there, and he's right now he's basically, I think he's transitioning out from that role. But what are the numbers and what are the projections on?
Well, he's at least going to part-time, like a couple days a week. But so far, and this is assuming that all of the DOGE numbers are accurate, and I say that again, not to throw shade at any other organization, but because it is being challenged by the media.
Sure.
In general, but so roughly $160 billion. I'd make sure I use the right word there. I almost said million. $160 billion saved so far. When they first pitched this idea, when Musk and Trump were talking about DOGE and in the public realm, the estimates were somewhere around $2 trillion we could save. 160 billion is nowhere near 2 trillion, but again, we're just a few months into the administration. Over the course of the 4 years now, Musk has said, and this is to kind of get into the projections, Musk has said that 2 trillion doesn't seem like it's reasonably going to happen, but 1 trillion probably could. And $1 trillion is a massive savings. Well, I mean, it's our entire, it would be our entire national debt interest payment for the year.
I mean, that's a good thing in itself, right? That's
right. Yeah,
you've got free money for. I mean, we shouldn't look at it as free money because it's all debt, but
that's how the government looks at it.
Yeah, very much so.
But
well, we'll be tracking what happens as this all continues on the pages of libertynation.com. Please do check out Jim's writing. Jim, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.